Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our environmental management webinar. So my name is Lucy Welch. I'm a student enquiries advisor. So you may recognise my name if we have spoken on the phone or via email before. So just to give you a bit of information about how the webinar is going to work today. So Athena will be speaking with some of our current students, Hannah, Rebecca and Morven, and you'll also have the opportunity to ask your questions throughout the webinar as well. So if you do have a question, do feel free to pop that in the Q&A section on the right hand side of your screen. And if you see someone else's question that you think is particularly relevant to you, or you'd like to be answered more imminently, then you can upvote their question and that will jump to the top of the queue to be answered. So with that said, we'll also be sending around a recording of the webinar within a few days' time. And so I'll just pass over to Athena and Hannah, Rebecca and Morven, and they can get started with the webinar.
Hi everyone, and thank you for joining today's session. As Lucy said, my name is Athena and I'm the Marketing Officer for the Faculty of Natural Sciences, where the Environmental Management course belongs. So we have here today Morena and Rebecca and Hannah, and they are currently studying environmental management, and they kindly are giving their time today to share their experiences with you about the course, the university, the campus and life at Stirling. As Lucy said, you will have the opportunity to ask your questions in the Q&A session. What we'll do is just to kickstart discussion, we'll start with a few questions towards our students, and then when we see that you have typed your questions in the Q&A session, then we'll stop and then start responding to your questions. So just to start with a very basic and hopefully an easy question for you guys. Why did you choose to do your environmental management course at the University of Stirling? I'd like to go first.
I studied my undergrad here, so I knew the campus pretty well and I knew some of the professors. So I came up and had a look at the prospectus. I had a look at what different courses they had. And I decided really late on that I wanted to join. I only joined the course 2 weeks before it started. So I had a little look and I emailed Nigel and asked if there was any chance I could still join. And he was like, yeah, sure. So I sent him my personal statement and they were very helpful and let me come on board.
So Professor Nigel will be, as you might be aware, he's the course coordinator of environmental management. Hannah, what about you? You're coming from an exciting place.
Yeah, I'm actually a student from Nigeria on scholarship, Commonwealth scholarship. So I chose the course because I'm currently looking into academics as a career. So that's why I chose environmental management, and I chose Stirling because when I looked into the prospectus, I looked at the different modules they had, and I saw that it would fit into what I would really want to do later on, and it will really fit back at home when I begin to implement what I've learned here over there in Nigeria.
What about you?
So I studied undergrad at the University of Edinburgh, and I was in a meeting with my personal tutor saying that I wanted to do a master's, but there was just so many out there. I had no idea which one to do, and he recommended this one. So he knew about Niels Bunnenfeld, who's one of the professors' work, and it was really in line with my interests, and he thought I'd really enjoy the master's and the course, and so yeah, it was just really his recommendation. And I came here and met Niels around this time last year, and yeah, that really that was kind of what made me come here, just speaking to Niels as well about it.
And what can you say about the course? What do you think is the most exciting part of it for each of you?
I would say that the course has not just met my expectation, but like it's gone way beyond that. I knew I was going to learn new skills because I came from a biological sciences background. So I knew in an environmental master's there was a lot I was going to learn, but I've just learned like so much more. And I'd say the field trip in that week, they packed so much in, and it was fun, and we learned so much in the space of 5 days. So I think that was a really big highlight right at the start.
What about you, Hannah?
That's same for me. I'll just put it in one sentence, like it's like doing a professional study with an academic work. So it's really exciting actually.
So it's hands-on. You don't just do the theory.
Yeah,
actually.
it's very practical.
And what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I like that it wasn't just sitting in a lecture hall being told all this stuff. You got to go out and actually do it.
Yeah.
And I really like that they had the field trip in the first few weeks, because I feel like we all really got to know each other really well. You weren't just in a classroom full of strangers for a whole year. You got to know everyone really, really well, and so you could ask people for help, and you felt really comfortable with each other. And I think they were really good opportunities to learn new field work in different environments. So in the Cairngorms, and then one of the modules you can go away to Africa and meet different environments and see different challenges for environmental conservation, which was really interesting.
Is GIS involved in any way in your course or in any modules?
There is a GIS module, which I didn't do.
I didn't do it either.
Neither did I.
Okay.
So I think just there is a GIS module to answer that, but there's so many modules, especially in the second semester when GIS is one of the courses that you can take. So I think if you want to do GIS, there is an opportunity there for you, absolutely.
Okay, no, that's great, because there is asking whether there's a GIS module. So if you are interested in taking that route, there's an opportunity for you to do that. Can I just take you back to those trips you were talking about? I know you mentioned Africa, and you go to Gabon, and you go to Aviemore as well. Could you give us a few examples of what do you do when you go into these trips? What sort of analyses?
So in the Cairngorms, there was 5 days. I think in each day we did maybe up to four different activities. So one analysis that I really enjoyed was the camera traps. So we were in groups, we put camera traps and bait, and each group had a different bait. So I think peanut butter, cat food,
Okay.
I can't remember them all. And we just each group tested out which one worked. And then at the end, I think the next day or after 2 days, we'd go and see what animals came and ate the food. And we saw things like pine martens and red squirrels, which are really rare. I think one group...
Did one group get a deer?
Yeah. So that was really interesting. But we did loads of different analysis.
So do you do like a plant analyses or soil analyses or water analyses?
Yeah, so we did stuff with pH, water, pH.
For the pollution and the water flow. We did do plant analyses with the colonial gars and stuff, like seeing what vegetation was at different elevations on the mountain. And how
temperature and wind and light affected that. We looked at lichen on the trees, and we did pitfall traps with invertebrates. So that was really interesting because you just dug little traps, and then we went back the next day and there was loads of insects. We identified them. It's a very group-based trip as well, which is nice because it's right at the start of the masters, so you get to meet people within the first week or two and work with them.
We did kick sampling in the river, electrofishing.
Oh yeah.
Habitat mapping.
Habitat mapping. Yeah. And did lots of things in the Cairngorms. It was a really busy week. Like you were tired, really tired by the end of the week, but it was really good.
Do you have to write a report at the end of that? Your findings?
So there's on the very last morning you do a group presentation. They make it very informal, so it sounds scary, but it's not. Like everyone's in the same boat. It was actually, I'm not going to say fun, but
it felt really supportive.
Yeah. And then you do write an individual report, if I'm right.
Yeah, you used the data. Oh, that was for the R module. You used data from the Cairngorms.
Yeah, so there's two
crossover,
reports.
yeah.
So if you take the R module, you'll use the data to write a report, but also for that field trip module, you did write a report, but you could just use Excel to analyze the data if you don't have R experience.
And then the tropical ecology trip to Gabon. Some of the things were the same. We did camera trapping out there, and we caught like chimps, leopards, gorillas, pangolins, all sorts of things. We got to go and visit a plantation and see the elephant fences and see how the farmers were working to live in harmony with the animals. We got to do radio tracking of mandrills and seeing the environments that they live in, which was really cool because once you tracked them, you were just surrounded by 700 monkeys in the middle of the rainforest, which was really, really cool. And everyone had individual projects while we were out there, so everyone got to do different things. So I did the mandrills, but another person, she worked more on the elephant fences, and there were more people doing plant things with like the phenology of the rainforest and seeing the carbon storage in the trees and things like that. So you got to go and try loads of different things at the start of the week. And then the second week, you focused in on your project, collected all your data, and then when you got home, you wrote a report on that. So it was quite fun to get to try everything and then focusing in on the second week.
Sounds very exciting, being somewhere else and just finding out about the natural habitats of different countries.
Yeah, it was so different to anything I'd experienced before, which was cool.
So what about you, Hannah? What did you find most exciting? Coming from a warm country as well, going to our highlands over here.
Well, I found it quite, coming from a warm country, when I climbed the Kenya mountains for the aspects of the analysis that had to do with effects of altitude on vegetation and other plant height and other stuffs. It was quite very cold and different, especially because it was my first 2 weeks or 3 weeks on campus. But with help from my fellow students, I was able to manage the weather. I got a waterproof jacket, which I forgot to take along, but I managed quite very well. I was able to get my working boots later on. And aside that, everybody was quite different from what I expected. I expected people to be aloof, quite indifferent to you because of your race or background. But people, I met very interesting people that didn't even mind. They related with you very nicely, and then they were quite happy to share their knowledge, on the course and everything. And it was very welcoming for me. I didn't feel bad at all coming from a different country. Yeah.
I think that's great. It's great to see that you feel like that way being in Scotland and that you've been treated nicely. But it's nice to share that experience as well with someone at the other side of the world if they want to come here. It's a friendly place. We have an Opendoor policy. If you need any questions, you just
And I also forgot to mention that the lecturers were also very, very friendly and cheerful, welcoming questions and ideas. I mean, we're given chances to speak up and talk about how we feel and how we react to things. I think it's nice too.
So what skills do you think you've learned from all this experience, from all this taught component and the trips that you think you're going to use in your future careers? What do you think
I'd say besides from the practical theory and knowledge and understanding, actually using these tools in a group, because when we go on and hopefully get careers, we aren't going to be working on our own. So it's been really nice for a lot of the modules. There has been a lot of group work, and that is a reality in sort of the working world. So I'd say that's something I think I've taken away from the Masters.
I liked how we had a module of about environmental policy, and I think it was really cool to see how after all the field work you understand how the data is collected, but seeing how after people have collected the data it gets put into practice and taken to government and how it's actually enforced, which I thought was really interesting. So instead of just, this is how you collect data, you saw how it was actually used in real life, and how, in the bigger picture of protecting the environment, how it was actually done. I thought that was really good.
What about you, Hannah?
Well, in addition to the group work, what I found very, very interesting was I knew I was going to take R when I was coming because I saw it on the website, in the prospectus. But when I got here, it was very nice to see what R could do. I downloaded the application back at home, but I didn't understand anything about it until I came here, and then it's a very useful skill I'm going to take back home because I've never come in contact with R. Then another thing about the course which I really find very nice was the fact that we have so many things. There are so many things you can learn. You can learn freshwater sampling, soil sampling, air pollution sampling, several things. So it's for me, it's giving me an opportunity. When I get back home, you can go into any field and you'll be able to do so many things if you want to. If, for example, you're working with an environmental agency and they ask you, can you do soil sampling? Yes, I can. Can you do air pollution sampling? Of course I can. Can you analyze this data? Of course I can. And you'll be like an embodiment of toolbox, so to say. So I think I'm really taking that away from here.
That's great. So you feel like you are quite complete as professionals in environmental management once you graduate, because at the moment you are all doing your dissertation projects, aren't you?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that a bit? To share how it is? What do you need to do?
So the professors kind of give us a list, and I don't know much about that because right at the beginning, on the very first day, I approached Nigel and said to him I knew what I wanted to do for my dissertation. So there is opportunity if you have an idea to actually develop that. You don't just need to pick like something.
Subject.
Yeah. So if there's something you're really interested in, you could do that. So he just directed me to someone in the department who knew about that area, and I've been working with them since the end of the first semester. But we're given this third semester now for our dissertation, so end of May and hand-in's the end of August. So that's kind of all we're focusing on, which is different from undergrad, where you have to kind of balance dissertation with subjects, but it's kind of like a 9-to-5 job. You do have to put in a lot of effort for it, but for the list, I guess you guys know.
Yeah, you get a big list that has a paragraph for each topic, and there were so
More.
Yeah, and they give a brief description, and you would reply back with your top 3 choices, and then you were allocated, and most of us were allocated a first choice or second choice, and then you would meet with your dissertation supervisor. They would tell you a bit more about it, but it's a collaboration. So if you had a separate idea around this topic, they would be happy to work with you, and they were very good at, well, my supervisors anyway, were very good at working with us to see what we wanted to do. So yeah, I think that was quite good how they did that.
I think as well, at undergrad, we were told to give our top 10 from a list of 30 or 40. So the fact that it's your top 3, you are going to get something you're interested in, even if it's not your first choice, your third choice, that is still quite good.
Yeah. I guess you're all enjoying that despite being an intensive work for you guys.
Yeah. I think because it's things that you are genuinely interested in, it doesn't feel...
Yeah, I actually enjoy reading the papers about it, which is new.
Yeah.
Like, I'll happily sit down and read papers all day about my topic, which I would not have enjoyed in my undergrad, so yeah.
Great. So it means that you're really enjoying the subjects or being here, I guess, and working with your academics. You mentioned about the hours, like at the moment, because of the intensity of the subject and the dissertation, you need to work from 9 to 5 to be able to write your dissertation. During the taught components of the course, first semester, second semester, how many hours, for example, do you need? You don't have to find the exact number of hours, but how many hours approximately do you need to be on campus, and how many hours do you have teaching? What would be a typical teaching week for you?
So it really depends on the modules you take, but I think I commute from Edinburgh, so I live an hour and a half away, and I was coming in during the top semesters about 3 days a week, and the other 2 days I was working a part-time job. And when you're on campus, apart from one module, it's just half days, so 9 to 12 or 2 till 5. So probably on campus you wouldn't really for actually like taught lectures, you wouldn't be here all that much, because a lot of it is reading. So maybe
like 15 hours a week,
Yeah.
15 to 20 hours a week, depending on your classes.
yeah.
And then for group work and stuff, you would have to come in your free time to do group work, unless you were going to do it on Skype or if you were want to do it that way. But
some of the modules as well have computer labs. So if you are doing the R and the GIS, it is 3 sessions a week. Whereas if you're just doing like conservation, ecosystem, it's just one morning lecture a week. Is that right? I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So yeah, it just really depends. But if you did want to have a part-time job, it's definitely possible. I would say. I think.
I worked part-time as well. Yeah, and it was doable. Yeah.
Hannah, you stay on campus. What it's like to leave?
Well, to stay on campus, I think I'm not going to. I understand where my colleagues have to come from, and I don't really feel. I feel bad sometimes when they tell me, "Oh, I'm still on the way" or something like that. So, staying on campus is quite very nice for me because it's I'm close to the university, I'm close to the library, so I just walk. I take a 15 minutes walk down to my lecture room, and the library is just about 7 minutes away from me. So it's quite like I'm living in the school. So it gives me opportunity to plan my time, and because I can just from lecture room to go to the library, and then I don't spend the whole day in school actually. So I just, if we have 3 hour lecture, just go to the class by 9 to 12 and I go back home or I go to the library. But I don't commute at all.
And what about the facilities on campus? Do you think you're covered in terms of the coffee places and to eat and?
I don't get that part.
So the facilities here on campus, in terms of the student union, the coffee places, shopping on campus, eating on campus, do you think that's?
Well, I think it's something someone staying on campus would really enjoy. For example, if you skip your breakfast, you can quickly grab something at the Outings or one of the coffee, the deli, and then there's a bookshop as well where you can get books. And the shopping center, there's a shop actually for shopping. I do get some things from there sometimes if I don't go out on the weekends. I could just drop by and pick up something. That's one of the advantages of staying on campus actually. And also we also have a gym center, so, and it's very close. You can just walk down from one of the accommodations to the gym and work out.
You mentioned book, and there's a question about if there are any secondhand textbooks available to buy. Have you done that before?
Definitely, I got one of my textbooks from the John Smith shop, the one on campus, and the price is not different from what I would have gotten on Amazon, or it's very nice. So I think we can get.
I think they do have a second-hand part, but I didn't need any textbooks for any of my modules at all this semester. All I needed was papers online, which we were given access to, so I haven't bought any textbooks for this course at all.
If you do the law module, there is a very big book to buy. I think everyone in the class bought it because you do need it, but I actually got it from the library, and I just kept renewing it. So you definitely can buy the textbook secondhand, and they did have it secondhand, but just depending, like Rebecca says, on the module, you might actually not need the textbook, and the library is really good. It's got all the books that we do use, so as long as you are kind of on the ball with getting the book from the library, you'll be fine.
And the library is quite big and is open many hours during the day, so you can just walk there, I guess, after the lecture and just...
Yeah.
And they have some eBooks as well that you can download. So you might have, instead of having to buy a physical textbook, you might be able to just download the ebook from the library if they have it.
Yeah, one of the R textbooks, or both of them for that module, were eBooks, and it also saves having to carry around a big book.
And do you get the chance to print those eBooks, or to print part of those eBooks? Because I guess they're big to print all of them.
You can. I know some of the students printed pages. I guess it depends how you learn. I was happy just having it on my laptop and using the find search tool when I needed a certain chapter, but you can definitely print parts of it.
Yeah. What about a postgrad lab? Do you have any labs dedicated to your courses where you can go and work on campus?
Yeah, so we have our master's computer suite, and also our teaching room. So those two rooms, they're in the same corridor, and I haven't had any lectures taught apart from one module. All the modules are kind of taught in those in that teaching room.
Yeah, you can go into the master's suite whenever it's always open, and we all have the code. So if you had a last minute panic and your laptop broke down and you had a report due the next day, you could go in at midnight and work in the master's suite if you wanted to.
And the good thing is the library does get really busy during exam time, so you're kind of guaranteed to have a computer up there because it is just for our class. So there will be space for you.
So it's great to have your own dedicated space, I guess, and you can talk to each other if you have any questions. In terms of your coursework, you mentioned earlier you do team works. How frequent are they, and how frequently are you examined? So I know you have the first semester that finishes just before Christmas, and you have your first round of exams. You come back for the second one, and you break for Easter, and then you have another second round of exams, which is the beginning of May.
Yeah.
And then you get a break, and then you start straight away your dissertation. During that period before the exams, do you take any tests or any individual coursework, teamwork?
So I'd say for each module, there's probably on average about 2 pieces of coursework for the ones that I did, whether that's an essay or a report, and they're spaced out, I'd say, quite well. There was a couple of times when we had clashes, but that isn't really uncommon, especially at undergrad. So
as long as you manage your time well in advance, you should be fine. We did have a time when, like in 1 week, we had a couple of deadlines all come together, but you had a long time before that. So as long as you started them all quite early on, you should be fine.
And for R and GIS, there's, I think for GIS as well, but I didn't do the module, so I think, but you have 3 tests, which you can do for R anyway. You can do that at home. You just need the laptop or a computer to do them, and it's a timed hour test to get whatever you've been working on in the labs for the previous 2 weeks, and then you actually use your skills to kind of do problem solving almost using R. So they're spaced out, I think, 2 or 3 weeks apart. But like Rebecca said, you do get the dates like well in advance, so you know when you have things coming up. So just, it's all about time management with coursework.
I think it's sorry, I got confused. No, I just wanted to ask about your free time. you've talked a lot about the courses and the exams and the field trips. In terms of bonding with each other, do you do anything after the end of the class?
Yeah, we for example, I could, after the class, I could go around saying hi to everybody and trying to smile, and I have been able to meet with some people after, for example, when we went to the Kingdoms. We had the basketball section. We had, so we could have, aside academic work, we had opportunity to do other fun stuff outside books. So I have had picnics, with my classmates, and it's been fun.
Yeah, and after the law exam, we all went to the student union to kind of celebrate end of exams, and one of the students is moving country and she's having a sort of barbecue in a few weeks' time. So I think as a class, like, we've definitely all bonded, and it's everyone's really friendly.
Yeah, I think up in the Cairngorms, when we all kind of got to know each other, the lecturers were really good at the end of the day, they brought like a ton of beer and everything up with us. And you didn't have to drink if you don't want to, but they made it a very comfortable environment where after class ended, that was it. We were all just going to have fun. And we went out for dinner one night, which was a really good way to bond. And then after we came home, everyone, like, after classes, will just go to like the union and have lunch together or things like that. Like on a Friday, the environmental policy class, I think it was, had 2 sessions with a 2-hour gap in the middle. So everyone would just go and have lunch together, things like that. Or some of us will meet up just like at the weekend and we'll go and do things. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good experience to meet lots of new people.
And what about living at Stirling, Hannah? I'm asking you because you're coming from a different country, so your opinion matters, I think.
It's cold.
It's cold. So people need to, if they decide to come and join us in September, they need to bring...
Yeah, when anyone's coming from my warm country, should be well aware ahead of time that they'll, for I think 4 months, from September to January, February, I was wearing jackets because it was cold. But when the spring came, I stopped wearing them. So I think...
So it gets better.
It gets better. It's not all cold. So I think I've adjusted to the temperature, and it's quite okay. 10 degrees in my place is very cold. So I think I've adjusted. And living in Stirling is quite very interesting because it's not... I found that the university is well situated for me. I see a lot of trees around. Lake, they call it loch. To me, it's lake. So it's quite very, very interesting. The environment is serene. I'm a lover of tranquility. So when I came and I saw everywhere is quite like my rainforest back home, it's very nice. So then there's a city center where you can get, there's so many shops, more
than
so
you need.
So you can get so many stuff, and you don't have to have plenty of money to buy some things. We have some very special shops to get some very special things. So that's me living in Stirling.
Do you feel it's a cost-effective place to come and study? Usually, because there have been articles as well, like Stirling is more cost-effective and is more economic to live and study than Edinburgh, for example, or Glasgow in terms of rent or going out.
When I spoke with some of my friends studying in Glasgow, studying in London,
London is a different level.
Okay, in Scotland, Aberdeen, and when I told her my house rent on campus, she said, no way, because she expected my house rent, my accommodation rent to be way above what she's paying. So she couldn't stay on campus. She had to go outside to get a place, which is not very comfortable for her.
Nice.
But before I came here, I made some inquiries and I was told, oh, the campus is the rent is not pocket tiering, that is very nice, and I found it to be so when I compared with my other colleagues in studying several places away from here. And the food is not expensive. I found it to be okay. Then the transportation is also okay. I think it's just cost effective. Yeah.
And before I ask your opinion generally about what our applicants or inquirers need to think before they join us, there's one tiny question, because you mentioned that the campus is just in the middle of this forest and the lake, and so it's, I take it, ideal for an environmental management student. Do you use the campus for your courses at all? Do you go out about analysing the water and the fish in the loch? And
when we came back from the Cairngorms trip, we were to present. We did a presentation in a group on one of the sampling techniques we had done. So most groups use the campus to film and demonstrate how to use the equipment, which was pretty handy, because if we were studying in Edinburgh, it would have been much harder to find somewhere to show how to use the equipment. So yeah, you can use the equipment, the campus for that.
So for that example, my group was doing the sort of measuring a slope, a riverbank, and we just used it here on campus with the big lake in the middle, and filmed how to use and demonstrated how to do that on campus. But I think specifically for the modules, practically we don't, aside from that, we don't actually do anything. But for theory, for EIA, we did this module over the second semester, doing all about EIAs, and one of the developments was a wind farm on site, and you could go out with your group and actually imagine the wind farms being there and what you would need to assess. And that was one of the pieces of coursework that we had to do.
So look at the impact it would have had on campus and like the surrounding.
Like the transport and people using the campus visually and things like that.
And before we wrap up this session, and I thank you very much for giving your time. I'm aware lots of you today have supervision meetings with your supervisors for your dissertations. What are you advising our applicants to do before they join us? What are your wisdom words before we wrap up?
I would say if you are applying or you've already applied, once you know that you're definitely coming, really read through the modules, think about what you want to do, because in the second semester there's so many, and I know a few people you could change after a week or two, but after that you have to do what you've chosen, and just because there are so many to choose from, just make sure that they are what you really want to do, and you'll know yourself how you work, whether you prefer coursework or exams or group work, and you'll be able to read about that in the module outline. So that would be what I would recommend.
I would say don't worry about having to have experience about anything beforehand. Like, there are people here from all different backgrounds, degree-wise or job-wise or anything. So you don't have to worry about knowing everything before you get here. You could come here and know basically next to nothing, and people will help you. You'll be taught how to do it. So don't limit your module choices based on what you already know. You could take anything and you'll be helped.
And what about you, Hannah? Your wisdom words?
And for anyone worrying about job, what can I do? What will I do with an environmental management course? My expectation was to just get an environmental management. I thought it was going to be specific, although I read from the perspectives that it wasn't specific, but I didn't know they were going to go deep like we went. So I think they should come be expectant, and then make use of all the time and all the resources available. We have so many group work. I can almost not be able to point to one person I've not worked with in my class, almost everyone. And then the modules were given is very useful for work outside school. I mean, after school. So we have employability skills that we've gotten from every one of them. So I think expectation should be not low, it should be quite high, and make use of every opportunity given.
That's great, and I really like to thank you very, very much for your time. Hopefully you received all the information you needed from Morgan, Hannah and Rebecca today. And if you feel our session today didn't answer all your questions after you receive the recording of this webinar, please feel free to email us and we'll make sure to respond back to you. So thank you very much for coming today. Thank you, all of you, joining us today, and we wish you a good afternoon, and hopefully we'll see you in September. So bye for now.